I thought we would try something new today. One of the ideas from our sermon series is to use lexio davina and visio davina. And so I thought today for the sermon we would spend part of our time doing lexio davina and visio davina. And then I'll give you a few notes on what I thought of the scripture. So I want you to focus on your breathing. If your mind begins to wander as you're breathing, inhale and exhale slowly. Stay mindful of your breathing as a way to bring you back to the present moment. When you listen to the scripture reading, hold on to a word or phrase. So if you're looking at the screen, it may sparkle or blink at you. If you've got your eyes closed because you just want to rest and hear the words, it's going to be like gum stuck to it, and I'm moving on, but you're stuck back there with the gum. So I invite you to center yourself, take a deep breath, relax your body as best you can, allow your shoulders to lower away from your ears, let your arms rest in your lap, let your feet be fully supported by the floor. Feel the weight of your body held by the chair. Open yourself to the voice of God. And he said to them, "How many loaves have you? Go and see." When they had found out, they said 5 and 2 fishes. Then he ordered them to get all the people to sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave to them to his disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. And all ate and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces of the fish. Those who had eaten the loaves numbered 5,000 men. So close your eyes, because if you get distracted, I invite you to just breathe in and out. And I'm going to read the scripture one more time and listen for that word or phrase. If you already have it, use that as your breath prayer, breathing the words in and out on your breath. And he said to them, "How many loaves have you? Go and see." When they had found out, they said 5 and 2 fish. Then he ordered them to get all the people to sit down in a group on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of 150. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. And all ate and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. Those who had eaten the loaves numbered 5,000. So I invite you to close your eyes, and whatever word is there, whatever phrase, just breathe it in and out on your breath. I invite you to open your eyes and to look at the work of art on our screen, or if that's too far away and you need the details, it's on the front of the bulletin cover. as you look at the art, I want you to repeat that phrase that God gave you. I want you to look at that art and repeat it in your head. Take a deep breath in and out. Continue breathing as you read the image. I invite you to notice the visual qualities of what you see. Its colors, lines, shapes, form, space, texture. Now I want you to take a deeper look. What parts of the image are your eyes most drawn to? What parts of the image did you quickly brush by or overlook? And now I want you to use your imagination. Why did the artist choose that color? Why did the artist portray the story in this way? How does this art make you feel? Lauren Wright Pittman says, in the center of the image, Jesus raises his arms and breaks bread. Above Jesus' hand is a mustard seed. Surrounding the baskets are thin line carvings of mustard flowers. Like the seed, we may be small, but we hold so much potential inside us. Surrounding the archway are 12 baskets of 7 loaves or fishes, which take on the shape of flowers. The number 12 represents community, and 7 represents wholeness. When everyone has what they need, the community is whole. She writes, we have the power you have given us to do the impossible. The same power that turned 5 loaves and 2 fishes into a feast for thousands with leftovers. Empower us to accomplish far more abundantly than all we can ask or imagine. Do we allow this truth to settle into our bones, animate our actions? In a world convinced of scarcity, this is the astonishing good news. As Laura says, we already have enough. And as her mentor used to say, enough is abundance. What will we do with this abundance? Is it too lofty to dream of a world that sustains all of life? Perhaps. Yet I believe it is God's own desire that all may have life and have it abundantly. This is the work before us, accomplished through the power at work within us, through Jesus Christ. When I listen to this text and see these images, the words that stick out to me is one at the very beginning. Jesus looked at the crowd and had compassion. He saw all these people who were hungry for more. He says they're like sheep without a shepherd. And that compassion motivates him as he shares what the world can be, about who God is and who God calls us to be. As that sermon is preached, that compassion is flowing from his heart. Now, we don't know what the words of this sermon are. If it was Matthew or Luke, it would be the Sermon on the Mount, because that's where it would come in the scripture story. But Mark lets the story remain empty. He lets us sit with that idea of compassion. And because of that compassion, when he's done speaking, he says, we need to feed the people. And the disciples look around and go, do you know how much money it would take to feed those people? We don't have that amount of money. And Jesus' words to them are, you give them something to eat. And they're arguing with him that they don't have enough to give something to eat. And he says, well, what do you have? And he gathers what they have and gathers the people and sits them down. And he shares, he takes that bread and he does the communion that we learn of later. He blesses it, he breaks it, and he shares it with everyone. And he does the same with the fish. And it says everyone ate until they were full. What is impossible becomes possible. Because I imagine as those crowds are gathering, other people had food in their bags that the disciples didn't know about. And pretty soon in that group, there's a picnic laid out before them with all the food that their mom said their wives had made. Before them is all the food that they had carried along, knowing that it might be a long day. And that fish and that bread expands and becomes possible to feed an entire people. The scripture teaches us that what we think is impossible can be possible. And it teaches us to be compassionate. When I was thinking of this, the idea that surrounded me until we went to war was about mutual aid. And the stories that keep coming out of Minneapolis, as I know they told you that they've disappeared, but the same amount of trucks are exiting the ICE detention facility every day. They have not disappeared. They have not gone away. It's the same amount of trucks. And so the stories of mutual aid keep continuing. So I want to share a couple of them that have appeared in the media. One of them is about Nora Patterson, who at 6 a.m. most morning, her phone starts buzzing with alerts. One of them might ask who's available to drop off a second grader at school. Another might be looking for someone to pick up groceries for a family. Another might request someone's presence outside during Friday prayers at the local mosque. And she's amazed as immigrant mothers have handed their children to her so she can drive them to school. A really vulnerable thing to do. And some kids are quiet on the ride. They're wary of her. And almost all of them, she said, understand at some level what's going on. But Patterson simply wants to be there for them. I'm not there to ask questions, she said. I'm doing this out of care. In November, she started delivering groceries to families. You can tell a lot from the bags of groceries, she said. Milk, eggs, cheese, chicken. Things that sustain a family. As Patterson said, when everything around me is hate and anger and murder, I'm bringing hope and I'm bringing love to the forefront. A community in Minneapolis, even just this week, as rents were due again, and the funds had been low, have been begging the country to send money to pay for the rent so that people don't have to leave their houses and go to a job where they will get arrested. And this week, because of all the lobbying they had done, the city passed an ordinance halting rent for the month. And then there's the story of Munira Mali Misak. She's a nurse practitioner, and they looked out, the nurses and health community, and saw that people weren't coming to the hospital because there was an executive order passed that said hospitals were no longer safe, churches were no longer safe, schools were no longer safe. And so the healthcare community in Minneapolis and St. Paul started going out doing house calls like what you used to have way before my time. But the doctors and nurses would go out to see who they could help. She has organized a rapid response team of more than 150 volunteer doctors. The first call that she got that day was from a woman whose husband had been deported. She was home with her kids, 9 months pregnant and in labor. So this nurse and an OB rushed to the house. The woman is completely dilated, but she doesn't want us to call an ambulance or anything. She says, "Can I just have the baby here?" But the woman had health issues that meant she was not a good candidate for a home birth. So the nurse and the doctor convinced her to go to the hospital in the nurse's car, which she says is a small Tesla, a white car seat. I'm like, everything that could be wrong was just there, but they were able to get her to the hospital safely. That's what our scripture is about today. When it seems like it's impossible, when we work together as a community, it becomes possible. It becomes flowers that bloom, mustard seeds that spread. The good news is what the disciples have to offer. 5 loaves and 2 fishes is enough. The good news is the crowd mobilizes into action, perhaps haphazardly without a 10-point strategic plan. The good news is the disciples' limiting beliefs don't limit what God does. The good news is everyone is fed.